I want to bring in Mayor Dan Gelber now. He's the mayor of Miami Beach. And Mr. Mayor, let's start with enforcement if we could. That's the situation here in Houston, very much the case across Texas. How do you enforce these new restrictions like the curfew that's being put in place on your citizens this weekend? It's going to be impossible for them to go to the store and buy alcohol after 8 p.m. as well. How do you go about doing that?
Well, first of all, a lot of people comply with rules, which is why we do have, and we need one statewide, a mandate for masks. The moment, just like when we made seatbelts required, people start to comply. There's a group of people who follow rules. The other folks, we have a $50 fine. We felt like arresting people was sort of a bridge too far for us and not practical. And so my hope is that there will be greater compliance simply because we have a curfew. Now, that said, we've seen young people now coming out in throngs at house parties in places we cannot enforce. And really, we're trying to message to them that it's entirely the wrong thing to do right now to get together in ways that might endanger yourself, your family, people you don't even know. And that's the hardest thing to do.
Here in Texas, we're seeing a lot of economic backlash. There was a protest in Austin. Bar owners were marching on the Capitol. They're upset that the governor here has closed bars down once again. I imagine you're thinking about that, dealing with that as well. The economic fallout from all of this, you're having to answer questions from constituents about that. What do you say to them, and what does the economic forecast look like? You're focused here on the public health issues, but the economy is secondary but important. People are worried about that as well.
Well, that's why we're doing all of this. I mean, there's a natural tension between lives and livelihood, unfortunately. It's hard to separate them. If you've noticed, while we increased, the unemployment rate has gone down now. We've had, I think, 3 million more people at work nationally, but that's exactly the trajectory that's going in reverse when it comes to positives. As we loosen our economy, there's obviously more positives. The only thing we can do to stop that is to apply these measures. I will tell you what I would hope for. I hope that from the top to the bottom, the federal government, state government, and everybody else starts to tell people to follow these countermeasures. Wear masks. It helps. Socially distance yourself. It helps. That's the only way our economy is going to withstand what appears to be a trajectory where at some point our hospital system will not be able to engage itself and save people who need care. At that point, we won't have a choice. So everybody's got to get on the same page. It's July 4th weekend. Let's just do what Americans always do. Let's work to help each other get through a challenge.
Dan Gelber, let me ask you about your relationship with the business community. You are counting on them to enforce some things, for instance, face coverings as well. Are you confident that they are going to be doing that? Again, what's that relationship like between you and businesses that are going to have to be enforcing some of the policies that you've put in place?
Well, by and large, we're all on the same page because a lot of these businesses, especially in the hospitality industry, which is so prominent in our city, realize that it's not just us telling them, but it's the market. Consumers will not avail themselves of these things, of their services, unless they feel safe. There are some outliers. We've had to close some places down for a day or two or indefinitely that are not following the rules. But for the most part, the business community has been entirely responsible. We haven't opened up bars and other things which are, we think, intrinsically impossible to socially distance yourself out. But the ones that we have opened, I think, have been pretty good, frankly.
I'll ask you lastly here just about the beaches, and obviously you've looked at the data, you made the decisions that you've made. What would it take for you to say close the beaches through the month of August? In other words, what's the next step, the next tier of danger or risk that would have to be in place for you to expand the kind of restrictions that you've put in place on the community there in Miami Beach?
Well, there's not a lot of tools left in our kit, frankly, other than a closure, which we don't want to do. I think if the trajectory continues, then we may have to keep beaches closed, or we may have to keep a curfew, or we may have to make the curfew earlier. I mean, we can toggle some things. But at the end of the day, the only thing we have really are people deciding that they're going to take control of this and do the things that they've been advised to do. We can solve this and we can address it, but only if we decide to do it. And right now, the mixed messaging, people thinking that wearing a mask is a political statement, all of that is absurd, but it's really defeating our chance to stop this virus.
Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.